Morning. Okay, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone is well. I'm a little bit delayed today, but that's okay. Good morning. How are we all doing today? Okay. Wait to see if we get a couple more people joining over here. Can everyone hear me okay? Just get a quick mic check. Make sure everybody can hear me alright. How's it going, Joey? Hope you're well. Okay, so we're going to do some analysis here in a minute. Start breaking down a few things. So remember guys, there is bank holiday today. So me personally, I'm not going to be taking any trades. Especially on BBG, what's it called? GBP. Especially GBP. Yo H, it's been a minute. How you been, man? I've been good. I've been doing very good, thank you. So we're gonna do a full week of YouTube this week. So if you guys wanna join me for a full week of live trading, then we're gonna be on YouTube. Obviously today, bank holiday today, so just thought that we would do some analysis. We just focus on some analysis points today. Obviously you can look at gold, pound, yen as well. So yeah, we'll be looking at that, and then from Tuesday tomorrow we'll be actually live trading, so that'll be good. But yeah, no, I've been good. I've been very good, thank you. So we're gonna see. So we're gonna break down GJ in a second here. Right, if we just remove all drawings, and we can just start off with a bit of a weekly outlook. You know, we can start with a little bit of the higher time frames, and what kind of makes sense with this new week. So as I posted into the HTG community last night, we spoke about the fact that weekly we're at a very strong support right now, and that we knew from last week's weekly outlook. I spoke about the fact that just because this candle closed very strong bearish, we did and we slightly closed below that support to the left, does not mean that we're going to end up down here, right? Sorry, that does not mean we're going to end up down there. What that means is that we could see a wick, which is what I was saying. We could see a wick down into this rejection area and find some support. We didn't even really do that. We just went straight bullish, to be honest, for the week. So the two key levels that we've got to pay attention to here for the weekly, just make this brief, is your weekly support right here and this mid-range support, right? Because it's your overall range. Up over here is the high support that was created to create that high. So this is the range. And what we did is we created like a mid-range support right here. You saw that weekly, and it was above previous resistance. So I'm interested in this level. This is a key level, and basically we're residing between those two levels right now. So you've got this support right here, and you've got this potential rejection area that we could see resistance being formed because we broke down right below this previous level of support. So it would be very interesting to see if your weekly is going to move up first, and then we're going to find some resistance and maybe start to continue down, because if we're not going to break this bearish market structure, then eventually we're either going to have to come down to the support, or we're going to have to break up, right? So for the minute, we're not really too sure which way that is, but we know that obviously we did create a support on the weekly. So at the moment we're focusing on this. But we're keeping in mind these two levels, right? So moving on to the daily, I'm gonna make this a little bit more brief. So daily, we know at the minute that we had this particular range, right? This is your daily resistance level that we had before the weekend, and then obviously we had this daily support. So we had this range now, right? We had this range to play with. You had Monday's candle closed pretty strong, then you had Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. We moved up. What we had was we had a little bit of a fake out over here, right? That was Thursday's candle. It pulled back. Thursday candle pulled back to close back below your previous daily resistance, right? And then at that point you would say to yourself, okay, potentially now we're going to start to see this. However, what we got was your Friday's candle closing bullish back above, right? But now we have two key things here, right? So now this is a key level, right? This right here, this zonal point is a key point, because now if we break this, if we see a daily candle that may finish like this, then you already know at that point we're failing to break this fresh resistance that was created where the pullback came from, right? And then at that point it probably makes sense to see some form of a continuation down at that point. Okay, that's when it makes sense. That being said, if we start to break above this resistance and we get candle that maybe, so if this is resistance, if we get a daily candle that wants to finish off like this, then we know, okay, weekly now it's starting to make sense to say that, okay, maybe we are going to break up and above that weekly R, because this is a zonal point and it's the same kind of zone on the weekly, because you have your daily resistance right here, you had a previous daily support, we broke down, right? You can see how we broke down, we create a resistance, right? So we're starting to create that resistance again in this vicinity. Yes, it's a higher level, which is good, but we really need to see some form of a break up into that zone, and then I'd be looking for that continuation up into the next zone, right? Ignore the poor drawing, but the point is the same. You'd be looking for that continuation and a correction of this move up, right? This move down. Okay, so moving on to your 4-hour chart, right? So 4 hours currently stuck in a range, right? We knew that, so we can put the analysis back. We knew 4 hours stuck in a range. Why is 4 hours stuck in a range? Because obviously we created this resistance, this high point, because we had this previous level here, pullback, etc. So new high was created in this bullish, short-term bullish trend that we're seeing, and now we're starting to see support being formed over here. Okay, so now we've got support formed over here, and now you can clearly see we're in a range because we rejected the top. Now we're creating like a mid-range support. So potentially now for a London session, I mean, I know nobody wants to probably be trading pound today because it's bank holiday, but if it was on a bank holiday, what I'd be looking at was, okay, so yes, we've rejected this resistance right here, you can see the rejections, right? Fine. If this is my zone now for resistance, we've now just created a support. So what does that mean? Well, that means potentially now we could push back up into that zone, right? Could push back into that zone and see and test, right? And then that would be coming up to here where we found that resistance. What would that be then? That would be your daily wick fill, because now we'd be coming up and filling that wick, pushing up to the 4-hour R, which is your daily candle, which currently looks like this. There's your wick. If we push up on the next 4 hour, there's your wick fill. right, on your new daily. So just bear that in mind. Okay, looking at our 1 hour, we've come up to resistance right here, starting to reject this resistance, right? We're in this range right now, so you have to understand that clearly at the moment price is, is very, very tricky. So if this was to come tomorrow, Tuesday, I'd probably be in some form of a buy right now, because we've broken above our most recent resistance right here. But since there's no, there's bank holiday, lack of volume, it's very potential that we'll find rejection with all of these areas. When there's a time of volume, right, this is the difference you have to understand. There's a key concept here, right? Breakouts, right? One of the key things with breakouts is you need to look for, right, breakouts, the best time is when there's a volume, right? Why? If there's no volume today, so if we have no volume today, why would that make sense that this candle would come back in the range? Because there's no volume to continue that move. So if it was down to me, some people might be like, oh, but we have like this resistance right here, like why would you buy when we have resistance right there? Well, that's up to you, that's your analysis. However, what I'd be looking for is, okay, where's my most recent resistance? Well, it's right here. Okay, there's my most recent resistance, right? We broke that most recent resistance with our 7 a.m. candle. Okay, what you're now going to see is we also created our most recent support, was right here before my session started. This is now our most recent support, but before the session started, it was this area right here. Okay, so if this is my range, and this is the area I'm looking at, then obviously I'm going to want to take buys above here, right? But why am I not going to do that today? Because this bank holiday. We're also in a very tricky spot for GJ. Okay, look at the previous 1 hours. It started to create this bearish structure, right? A little bit, where we fell into, break up to new highs, but also creating lower levels of resistance. So I'm paying attention to these things when I'm looking for my trades, structural points, right? Okay, so structurally wise, not quite bullish on the 1 hour. You zoom out a bit, okay, yeah, we're bullish. So you have to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. So if you're understanding that, okay, overall direction, we're kind of going this way at the minute because of high level support being created, that's fine. That's perfect. That's good analysis. But what you have to look at in the short term is, okay, what's going on here in the short term? Well, you can start to do this now. So what are we starting to see? A phase, right? Consolidation. So either we're going to want to continue this move with the trend, and then we probably see some break and continuation and retest of this high, or we're going to break down this support. And what we're going to do? Probably try and correct some of this move. So you can start to see why now, if you look at the 1 hour, this area is probably not worth trading, right? Why also? Look on the 30-minute, right? Already, if this was me on a Tuesday, if this was me on a Monday, but we had no bank holiday, then I'd be in a buy right now. I'd taking a buy right here. You'd put stops maybe below there or below the range, and you'd be looking to target these higher points, right? You can see now we're coming straight back into the range. Why is that? Well, just spoke about that. Look at the 1 hour. It looks like garbage, right? So, and why is that maybe? Well, because one, it's a bank holiday, lack of volume, etc. So there's a lot riding on the fact that this candle probably just going to come back in the range because there's lack of volume. Or if you really want to be safe, someone might be like, okay, well, I'm going to put resistance all the way over here because that to me is a safer area to take a buy above, and that's fair enough. That's fine, right? If you wanna look at this whole like resistance over here, and you want to say, okay, I'm only willing to buy above here, or maybe even only willing to buy above the 4 hour then that's obviously a safer play for a bank holiday. Would I take this trade on a bank holiday? No, because it's a little bit more risky. We spoke about what's going on the 1 hour, the 30-minute, etc. So it wouldn't be taking that trade. But if this was tomorrow, it'd be worth a shot. Why? Because volume. Simple fact. Volume. Understand when the volume comes in, and then know how you could start to get into a trade to get that volume. Okay, so August has been pretty good. August has actually been a really, really good month, which is good. But yeah, obviously September as well. So you got to remember, this is the end of the month. The other thing that's really important you got to understand is today, I think, and tomorrow is the end of the month. So it's the last 2 days of the month. Usually you're not going to expect to see a big move. Usually there's going to be maybe a pullback, something like that. But we're not going to expect to see any big movements. But that can happen. It's a very rare, but it can happen. But what's more important is just understanding that the lack of volume today. If you got this and then you got a further bullish candle, then maybe you could give it a bit more of a shot. Why would that be better? Well, that would mean that, okay, we clearly had no volume then, but now we're clearly creating potential continuation if there's volume coming in at 8 AM, etc. Because there can be still volume, but it's very unlikely. You know, if I've looked at the last 10 bank holidays, I think about 2 I've seen a good move. The rest, not really. So that's fine. But we're going to move on from GJ now. We've broken down GJ. We've broken down what we're looking for analysis-wise and why we would not be in this trade right now. So if we look at gold, so if I was trading gold this morning, it's pretty obvious what you would have been looking for. So in terms of a buying opportunity, the 2 things I'd be looking for on gold. If it was a buying opportunity, there's 2 things. So the first thing, this is your previous 4-hour R. Why is that important? Because this move, so this move here, was part of the 4-hour breaking above a resistance. So since it created this move down, right? What did that do? It meant that the 4-hour during the Asian session closed back in the 4-hour range, right? So if this candle closed back in the 4-hour range, what does that mean? That means this 4-hour was a fake out, which means what? Higher probability for the new 4-hour to also continue down in the range. So therefore, once we started to create this resistance, right? So basically the buy analysis would have been, okay, if we start to get closes up and above, right, your previous 4-hour R, so back above the range, aka your new 4-hour candle is coming above the range, so that we can continue back up, right? Then we would basically have created or got a candle closure, 1 back above previous level of support from the Asian session, which created a support for us to continue, and 2, we would have got the close above previous 4-hour resistance, right? To say to us, okay, now it makes sense that our current 4-hour probably going to come back to retest this high, right? So then you would expect to see that continuation back up to retest. However, we didn't do that because we created a resistance, right? We created a resistance, off resistance, and below our previous level of support, right? What made sense? So think about gold right now. What would have made sense for a trade? You've got 4-hour closing back below previous resistance, right? So you've got a fake out on the 4-hour. So that's number 1, 4-hour, right? Understand it, what it did. Number 2, right? Understand where we were closing below. So closing, right? Where are we closing? We were closing below previous level of support. So if we're closing below previous level of support, what does that mean? High probability that once we're creating resistance, then we're going to continue down. What else did we have? Well, what's this? We had a lower support created, right? We had this resistance formed. Let's start with this. We had this support form. We had a push up to create a high and a resistance, right? So whenever we do that, if we're gonna pull back, we're probably gonna pull back to most recent support. If we break that support and create a new low, because remember this right here is lower than your previous support, then that suggests, right, that we're not gonna retest this high, because we're failing to hold this support and we're failing to retest the highs. So since we created a resistance, there was a higher probability we're actually going to retest this low. Why is this a low? Because it was a lower support formed. If we had a support formed, I'll do it in a different color, right? If we had a support formed over here, if we had, just say this yellow candle right here, is our support formed in our London session, then what makes sense? You'd argue we now have a higher level of support being formed, so it makes sense to continue this move because now we could break this high and create a new high, right? So a lot riding on the fact that we did create a resistance. So what would I do as a trader coming into my session, right? Well, I'm probably going to want to wait for a solid resistance. Well, your 15-minute candle right there gave you an opportunity. Why? What would you be looking for as a resistance? What if this candle closed like this? Would I have taken that sell? Probably not. Why would I not taken that sell? Well, because it did not engulf the previous candle, right? Did this candle engulf previous candle? Yes, it did. Just slightly, right? Just slightly. So someone is going to say to me, okay, well, what's the best time frame to wait for? Well, of course, it's going to be the 30-minute. Right, if you was to take sells there, put stops there, target there, you know that you're gonna get that trade, right? It's a very high probability you're gonna get that trade. Why? Because you waited for a strong confirmation 30-minute, and then you have a clear resistance forming, right? And you have a clear target in mind, this low. Okay. However, what we do know is that you had an opportunity here on the 15-minute once we started to engulf that previous candle to show, right, to show that we were exhausting this move up and we started to have stronger resistance formed, right? There's your opportunity to retest this. Okay, pretty simple, but it's been a really nice move. You can also now go down to your 5-minute time frame, right? You can understand maybe where you from a 5-minute perspective where you might want to be taking a trade. Okay, so from a 5-minute perspective, well, we know that okay, if this is your support right here, all over here, you might want to wait and look at the 5-minute and say, okay, well, what we could do is we could pull back but then find rejection at this support right here on the 5-minute and then start going up. So I want to take a sell below here, right? I want to take a sell below here and I want this to be my target. Right, so then therefore you could have used this candle. You could use or find some form of an entry in here for price to consider. You could then have a much lower stop loss by maybe using this 5-minute candle if you like, right? Because you're basing the fact that we've broken this minor support on the 5-minute as your opportunity to catch that downside move. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Everybody keeping up? We got around 10 people. Bit quiet though, guys. Let me know. This is helpful. Any questions? Anything you guys want to go over? How would I take the trade, gold trade now? How would you take the gold trade now? So if I was looking for a gold trade now, personally, you'd probably want to see a further resistance formed. Right, because understand obviously, well, two ways you can take the next trade, but obviously how I would do it would be slightly different, right? So if it was down to me, I would probably wait for another resistance below here and here. Okay, the point being is because, you know, if you look at what happened here, so you had support, resistance, yeah, you came down support, we broke it, and you had an impulsive move. So you could argue if you got a candle closing below, that might be worth a shot for you. That might be, okay, we've broken most recent support right here. That might be worth a shot. You have clean candle to left hand side, right? So that in theory could work. What I probably want to see first though is I probably want to see a candle closing bullish at support to signal that we're creating this range, right? And then when more volume comes in, I'd want to see a candle closing below that support. That, in my opinion, would be good to continue down, right? That would be good. But what would I probably want to see best case scenario would be probably some form of a move down, right? A little bit of rejection where we start to pull up a bit, right? Which is perfectly fine. We start to pull back up to this area, and then we create some form of a resistance, right? Where we break below whatever further low is created, and then I can take a sell to continue down, because then I know that we have a further resistance formed, right? So I know that I'm not structurally, I'm playing the structure, right? So I'm getting in when we create resistance rather than getting in, let's say, on a close, which could still work, and then you just get a fake out because, you know, really high time frame we're going that way, right? So you got to remember that as well. Remember, for this big move to be corrected, we need confirmation. Right now, what you've had is a big move that's pushed up. We've had a failure to retest the high, so you've had a pullback phase. Okay, that does not mean that we may not find some rejection and continue up. If you also look at what you've got on the screen right here, this level's there for a reason. Why is that there? Well, do the math a little bit. You know, if we go to the higher time frames, if we go on our daily, what's the bias? Well, it's bullish. So why have I got previous daily R there? Well, because we have a daily resistance right here. So from a daily standpoint, it makes no sense to even look for a sell, does it? Because from a daily standpoint, we've broken the range, right? From a daily, it makes sense to look for upside, okay? So understand your higher time frames, because now that being said, now people are going to be like, but then there's no point looking for sells. I'd rather miss the sells, let my 4 hour maybe come back down to maybe here, right? This previous range where we've broken out, there's your breakout, here's your high formed. We're now in a pullback stage on the 4 hour, understand that. So if we're on the pullback stage on the 4 hour, what are we going to do? Well, probably going to pull back to somewhere to create support to continue the move up, because we've broken out that way. We've done the move. That's the hard work. There, breakout. Pullback is your easy part. Don't get caught thinking that it sells, right? It is sells if you was paying attention to what we did very early on in the session, because it was obvious in your face that we would, you know, at least continue down. Look at the 1 hour, right? Solid rejection on the 1 hour. You have an opportunity to push down to that support, right? You don't need to be a hero. I know a lot of people love to trade gold. That's perfectly fine. But being honest, you know, everybody wants to catch these 50, 80 pip moves on gold. I would be quite happy taking a trade from there to there. Why? Because I know that's a high probability chance that's going to happen and it's going to work out. So I'm not going to bother saying, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to take that trade. I'd rather wait for this. You know, look at this move. Oh, yeah, I'm going to catch this move coming down. It's not gonna, it may not happen, you know. If you look at the higher time frames, just because we have clean traffic here does not mean we're coming all the way down to here. We may do that, but with further confirmation and with structure, etc. You know, pullback wise, we can do that. It's possible. 4 hour can pull us back all the way back down to 1807, 1808. But there's no guarantee. This 4 hour could flip and we start pushing back up. So just understand that. Alright, but then that goes to my next point. Then where would the best place to look for buys be? Well, the best place to look for buys would clearly be above this range, right? Above 1817 500. Why? Because you have this resistance formed. Previous level support was here. This makes this a key level. You get breaks above here, right? Start looking on your lower time frames for a potential entry. There's your target, right? Obviously you want to be a bit wary coming into this bit of consolidation. Of course, it's always things you can take into consideration. However, that's your target. That's your target. There's your move right there. Okay. So just because we got a few more people joined here, just to let you guys know, we're going to be streaming all week this week. Okay, but obviously today was bank holiday, so no actual trading for me today. But bank holiday wise, this week wise, we'll be trading every day. Every day. But guys, listen, let's get some likes on the stream here. I'd really appreciate that. If we could get some people dropping a like on the stream, that'd be amazing. But yeah, we spoke about GJ this morning as well, so rewind that from the start of the stream for those of you who missed it. But we broke down GJ high time frame analysis and why right now is a very tricky spot to be trading. Okay. Let's answer a couple of these questions. Then we're going to go look at GN. I'm looking at GN over here. Okay, perfect. Today, gold sell or buy. Well, if you're saying gold is a sell or buy, that's completely up to you. It's whatever you're looking for as part of your strategy, my friend. Okay. Or moving forward, how would you unexecute? Have clean traffic to the left as we break the low. I don't know what unexecute means. But what I can say for gold is how, like I was saying, how I would execute. You know, it. To be honest, I think impulsive trades on gold, like RIP, like, you know, it's very dangerous. So I wouldn't be trying to sell there. If you're trying to sell breaking of that low, that's dumb. That's super dumb. I'm not saying anybody personally, I'm just saying anybody doing that is dumb. Why? Because we did not break the support, we closed that support. So it's very, very risky. Extremely risky to do so. Okay, so made no sorry. Made no sense. So if you are looking for an execution on gold, you have a number of options, but you have better and safer options. You know, you're gonna have safer sells below this zone. So you're gonna have safer sells below here, right? You're gonna have safer sells with resistance formed and structure. You're gonna have safer buys above this resistance, right? You're gonna have safer buys above here. You could argue you could take buys if we create support here. Is that a safe idea? No. No, in my opinion, that's not a safe idea. So, in my opinion, that's going to be a risky trade. Any impulses as well, breaking of this low, you get a weak bullish candle, you start breaking up. It may work out. You know, you may get a candle that drops like this, and everybody looks great. However, you may also get a candle that wicks down, but closes off in the range, and we've just creating a big liquidity grab on the 4 hour. So you got to be really careful. Honestly, you got to be careful. I've learnt the hard way with this situation, you know. Okay. Nice explanation. Thank you, William. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. No problem. Good to see you back streaming on YouTube. Missed these streams. I appreciate it, Josh. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I wanna be back. To be honest, I would love to be back for good. Obviously, there's a lot of other streams at the moment, so it's gonna be very difficult. But yeah, we're gonna come back on. We're definitely going to be on all week this week. I'm going to try and make these streams as best as I can, and you know, help people in the best way that I can, and give as much knowledge as I can. All right, but yeah, so I'd appreciate if you guys could drop a like on the stream, and you know, it really appreciate that. But more so, just showing up. Just showing up is good enough for me. Asking questions, engaging. So I appreciate every one of you guys for turning up today. So we broke down gold, we broke down GJ. Last pair I'm going to look at now is GN. So last night did a little webinar on GN, and what I was looking for, higher time frame. We can now see that it did not do what I was looking for it to do. But actually there's been some really nice opportunity on GN, to be honest. The reason I've got this big zone area here is because high time frames are in a huge ass range. So anywhere in here, I know we could have rejection, we could have support form to go up, and obviously straight away you can clearly see it did that. It came straight back up in the range. So there was really good opportunities last night during the Asian session. You can see there what we did. We broke up. And even now during London, you can see at this point that we create. So if this big zone wasn't here, right, then obviously all you would be focusing on is this range. Okay, so this is the range that I focused on for today. Obviously, I'm looking for continuation of buys, right? Why? Because we got now candles leaving my big ass zone. Okay, so we've got candles leaving my zone. That means that we're rejecting from previous daily support to come back up into the range. So for me, this morning's trade, if I was taking it, obviously it's GBP bank holiday, but we got a little bit of volume here for GN. It would have been this candle right here. Once we create that bottom wick, enter in on the flip, bang, that's your move right there for me. So GN buys would have been the play here so far today. I was watching them this morning. So around 6:30 a.m. you got the close above, right? You got the break above the resistance. So for me, you know, be up about like 12 right now, but that's fine. So where I'd be targeting, would be this previous 4-hour support up over here, right? That would be my target right there. So you could use your previous levels to your advantage, and use that. Stops would have been kept below that candle right there, the break at 14 pip stop loss, and would have been a very easy push to the upside, targeting there. So at this point now, so basically we've got this rejection area right here as well, right? So when I stretch that left, that's the point. Anywhere around there, I'd be putting stops to break even, just in case we start to reject, okay? And I'd be looking for that continuation of movement. So GN would have been a really nice move there today, right? Perfect. So one for the back testing. You can also see on the 1 hour as well, that rejection to the downside. Notice these rejections. But the candle I was talking about during the Asian session was this 1 hour candle, 1 a.m. candle. Easy move from there. So once you had this dip down, right, market open comes, you have the straight move. We come to a resistance. We reject that resistance. So we effectively create a range. There's your range. There's your breakout. You take buys there. You put stops there. Big ass move right here. Simple, effective, and a great move. So now you can see the 30-minute candle is closed on GN, and the new 30-minute candle is pulling back at this point. So let's take a look on the 15-minute as well. Yeah, it was a nice move. It was a very nice move. We created support as well on the 5-minute to push up. Obviously now you could argue against stop to break even, but you may want to have some positions secured, etc. at that point. Okay. But that would have been the move on GN. Okay, please Euro AUD. Alright, I can take a look at Euro AUD in a second. If you give me a minute, I'll take a look. But let's have a look at this question here. So you spoke about potential buys, but before the buys happen, you said it might pull back on the 4 hour to create support and push up to retest the highs. Where would the support then be on higher time frame? Okay, so I presume you're talking about gold. So what I'm saying is if we just remove analysis to make this nice and simple, right? Let's look at what happened. Okay, let's look at what happened. Very simply, right? Very simply, you had a range. Okay, so let's just call this resistance, right? So yeah, you had a couple of ranges in here, right? You had this area here and you had this support right here, but the whole point is the way in which price is moved structurally is very similar, and it just moves in the same manner. So you had, this is your resistance, okay? There's your resistance, let's just call that range. There's your breakout. So your 4 hour candle came out and it broke out on the 4 hour. As the next candles move up, we create a high. So whenever you have a range and you get a break, you get consolidation, you get a breakout of a range, price is going to make a high. If it pulls back, you know that's when price is making a high. So whenever we make a high above a range, we need support to form to retest that high for a continuation of movement. If we don't create support, what would that then suggest? Well, one, we'd be pulling back to the top of the range. So let's say, for example, let's actually draw a couple candles, make it a little bit more visually easy to recognize. So let's say, for example, we get the next 4 hour candle do this. Okay, we've not faked out yet because we've just pulled back to the range. In order for us to continue up, we would need a support to form. If we get a support to form, there's a higher probability, not guaranteed, but there's a higher chance that we're going to have the next candle move up and retest the high because we've had the bullish breakout confirmation. Understand that. If we get support formed, and then the next candle goes bearish and closes back in the range, that means support was not respected and we did not have enough volume to continue that breakout from the upside. And that actually means that we're now coming down into the range. Right, we're now coming back into the range. So effectively what I'm trying to say is the best place to look for a support to form is anywhere above your previous range. So if you understand that's your previous range on the 4 hour, okay, so if you say there's your high created, there's your previous range, you're basically looking for support anywhere in here, anywhere in there, because you can have support formed literally with the next 4 hour candle, and then we just do this, right? You don't know when support's going to come. It's just your job to look for it. So for example, if you wanted to get in off this 1 hour candle at 4 a.m, you could have got in off this 1 hour candle at 4 a.m, right? It's a support formed on the lower time frames. You had a 30 pip move, right? But right now, would you take this support right here? No, because now we're just ranging. So it's not like literally, you know, you find a bullish 5 minute or 30 minute and you just execute. It's not about that. If you're looking for support to form on the higher time frames, you need to start to visualize where it makes sense on the lower time frames. So where it makes sense on the lower time frames, where you could argue maybe if we start to engulf this previous candle where this thin yellow line is, if you get the next, I don't know, the next 30 minutes start to look like this, you could argue that we're starting to create rejection. Not my ideal setup, but it's an argument. What would be the ideal setup? Well, it would be a break above this resistance. If we got a break above resistance, then that means that your current 4 hour would start to be flipping, and that would suggest that it's creating a support, right? So there's a few things that you can look at there. Okay. Please come back. Yes, I'm coming back this week, and then we're gonna see from there. We would definitely see what happens after that. But we're gonna be streaming all this week. I'm really looking forward to that. With the message I sent, I was concerning gold, but thanks. Yeah. I realized that one. That's fine. We've broken that down for you now. But yes, just understand you're looking for support to form. Okay. But you're not just looking for just literally one bullish candle. You know, you have to understand. So if you got to understand, you're using the lower time frame structure and understanding what you're trying to achieve on the 4 hour. So for example, just this may make more sense. So for this 4 hour to flip and look something like this, let's say, and then you got the next 4 hour do this. What do you think it's going to look like on the lower time frames? Well, that means you're going to find rejection in here, which would have meant a lower time frame support would have been created, right? Which is obviously an important factor. Why is that an important factor? Well, because if you have a lower time frame support being created in here, that means you can match that with the rejections that we found in the previous 4 hour, which means that there'll be some form of a lower time frame range, and it's just your job to take trades out of that range, right? So then when you go to your 1 hour, you start to see where the range is. Let's say for example you just put resistance here. You know that, okay, if I take a buy let's say above this resistance, I'm basically going to be taking a buy once the 4 hour has flipped somewhere about here, right? And then your profit is going to be whichever the 4 hour pushes up. Okay, and then you anticipated this support to be formed on the 4 hour, one, based off the rejections you found in the bottom wick, etc. 2, once you had a break of the lower time frame range that you see, and then 3, obviously of course the next candle, once you're in the trade, to continue in your direction meant that your analysis is correct and the 4 hour is now flipping to continue up. Alright, but I think we've done enough work on that for the minute. So we did have London Open volume come in, but it's not done anything to gold at the moment. GJ at the minute, it's just meant price has literally come back in the range. So at this point 8 AM and literally just pushed us straight down with GJ. So we are just consolidating. We did create a support on the 1 hour, but we don't have a clear understanding of direction right now. And in fact GJ is just consolidating. Okay, but just understand, GJ, why you would not want to be trading GJ today. Alright, how did everybody find that explanation? Any more questions, anything at all that can help you with? I guess you spoke about all the pairs. Yeah, I've spoken about all the pairs that we've spoken about, that we've looked at today. GN now coming back in the range, which is fine. Gold, we've spoken about gold. So yeah, so I said that I would look at Euro AUD for my man over here. Yep, we'll check out Euro AUD, and I'll have a look at Euro JPY for you as well. Okay, so let's take a look at Euro AUD. Just a brief one. We'll start off with the high time frames. So looking at the daily, structurally wise, Euro AUD is bullish, right? It would, we don't need to be advanced in trading to understand which way the market is going, right? We can clearly see from our daily, our direction is this way. Does that mean we need to be looking for buys every time? No, but it does mean that we need to understand which way our higher time frames are going, right? So if we then, if you look at that from a daily, your weekly now will make more sense, right? Your monthly will now, what will your monthly look like, etc. But obviously, as you start coming into the monthly and stuff, you're going to start finding more areas, and you can see it's a little bit more messy. So stick with the daily at this point. So what's my analysis on the daily? Well, at the minute, but this daily candle has not closed yet. But if we were just to ignore this daily candle and focus on what we can see right now, well, obviously we can see that we had a previous high and we created support above the previous high. And now what we've got is this daily candle that's effectively closed below. So technically you should be looking for sells, right? Because we've broken support at that point. You would want to be looking for resistance though in your new daily candle to push down. But effectively what we're saying is that we could close back above. So if your daily candle is bullish at the moment, we're now saying, okay, well, there's a possibility that lower time frame closes above this support could mean that we would effectively start coming back above the range, right? Looking at your 4 hour, so 4 hour structurally again, so we basically pulled back to a support. You can see right here we pulled back to a support. We found a little bit of rejection since market open, but we also have this range right here. Okay, so understand that we're in part of this range. So what would I want to see? I'd want to see lower time frame, right, start to closing back above this previous level support to tell me that I can get a trade coming up above there to try and push into this next level of resistance that we can clearly identify. 1 hour from a structural point is bullish. So now as we start to zoom in, we can see from a structural point 1 hour is bullish, right? Kind of similar move here as GN. You can see very similar to GN, the way that EA has clearly set up this morning. So if you're looking for a trade on EA, right, you drop down to your 15-minute time frame, you had an entry around 6:45. Did you take that trade, right? Understand that. Did you get involved with that trade? Why did you do? So if we look at the zone right here, so you had a resistance formed during the late Asian session, right? We drag this left, we have a rejection zone right here as well. Okay, so we can see this at clearly an important level. So it's very simple to say, okay, we'd be looking for buys above here and potential sells below the support. So if that's your range, you already know that you're looking for buys. Why? Because we had a bullish breakout confirmation, continuation. Okay, so now your job. It's not for me to tell you. Okay, this is where my job stops, right? Because now this is borderline spoon feeding. Your job now is to understand everything we've just spoke about, high time frames, etc. And your job now is to understand how you could have caught a trade in here. Your job now is to understand how you could have gone and looked at these lower time frames and understood your range, understood where you'd want to take a trade, understand what time frame you'd be using, right? to get into this position? What would your risk be? Where would you place stops, right? How much profit could you have made? All these things. So now this is where your job as a trader comes in, to say, okay, I need to go and find that out for myself. Where would my entry have been? So if this was for me, I probably would have been entering somewhere over here, somewhere within this vicinity. Where would my stops be? Probably down over here. Where would my take profit be? Okay, well, let's take a look. Looking left, we've got some rejection around here, right? Maybe here. So you have a couple of levels here. You could argue that you could take profits. Got this level right here, and then I'd argue we have this zonal point right here. So for me, I want to get into a trade over here, and I want to get to this point. I want to be taking trades from here to here, maybe be done, maybe take profit, and then look for extension up to here. Simple as. Over here is going to be harder. Why? Because we spoke about your higher time frame, your 4 hour, etc., and why there's going to be a problem. Okay. But yeah, I've looked at your AUD. Hope that helps now. Okay. But what you'd want to do is, for me personally as well, let's say for example I would mark up this area right here, because I'd understand that this area is a previous level of 4 hour support. So I'd want to take buys above there, right? I wouldn't really want to be taking a buy maybe necessarily below it. So now then where comes your best entry? Aha. What did we get? Now go and see where would have been your best opportunity. What candle would have given you that option? Yeah? Okay. You're the best. Thank God, no problem. Right, let's look at your JPY really quickly. Let's look at your JPY really quickly, because we're going to be finishing up real soon. Okay, Euro JPY real quick. Euro JPY from a daily perspective, kind of similar to GJ, to be honest, but the only difference is obviously now you have an actual close above your previous daily resistance. So there's more of a bullish bias right now with Euro JPY. There's no Euro bank holiday, so you could actually trade Euro JPY today. Now obviously we know daily's bullish, but now this is where it becomes a problem, because now you have a resistance formed on your 4 hour. So you're in a range right now. Here's your 4 hour range. And obviously we're seeing some rejections here, rejections here. So it's probably actually not a good spot to be trading Euro JPY right now. If we low on the 30 minute, pure garbage. Okay, so if this was me, I'd be looking for a break of this zone, because until we break above this zone, I would just argue this is just, yeah, it's just garbage at this point. So yeah, for me, I think Euro JPY is going to be a no touch in here. This is no. You might get a good move above here, but you'd have to use a bit of volume to try and get that breakout, because you have resistance and rejection over here. And understand that's your 4 hour. Okay. And obviously if I was looking for sells, it would be below this support, and then you can have a nice clean move coming down. And the reason why the sells would probably make actually more sense is because of the 4 hour. Because then if we break this minor 4 hour support that's been created in here, right, if we break this, then you can have a clean move coming down within the range, probably to around like 129.300, because of this previous level here. You just want to pay attention to that. But right now I wouldn't be touching Euro JPY. I personally would just sit out of this pair today. You can see it's just completely ranging. Don't take any impulses. You will get burned, you will get hurt. So just take my advice, stay away from this. Potential sells below here, potential buys above here, and don't do anything until we're out of that range. Even probably let price create a high for you, and then wait for a support and then look for a trade, because we may find rejection in here, but it may be worth a shot for you if we get a candle closing above. You know, that may be worth a shot, but until that happens, difficult. Alright, quick little wrap up now, guys. So gold, we've spoken about the condition on gold. We spoke about you may get a bullish candle, and then maybe if you get that bearish candle, right, but it needs to break below previous daily R for me, really, if you're going to get into a sell. You probably want to see something like this and then look for that continuation, okay? But be very careful. I know some people want to take it as it breaks the low. That's up to you, but me personally, you know, you could get a slightly better entry somewhere in the top wick or in and around that area, and then have a little bit better of a stop loss. But for the minute, there's no trade on gold, there's no trade on pound yen for the minute, but in 10 minutes time we seem to be finding some rejections, so potentially maybe upside, but again, it's bank holiday today, so me personally not going to be taking any trades. But if I was going to take a buy on pound yen, it would be above this area right here. If you got a candle that closed like this, and let's just say it wasn't a bank holiday today, I would be taking a buy on that candle right there for the next candle to continue moving bullish. Okay, alright then, guys, we're gonna finish off there. Just on an hour, we done some breakdowns, we done you know, we've looked at everything. Any last questions before we wrap up? I now see the importance of 4-hour time frame now. Guys, hit the like button, please come back. Yeah, we're going to be back this week, so don't worry, we are going to be back this week. And then from then, I'm not sure if how we're gonna do it. I keep meaning to like organize more of a more of a regular thing for YouTube, but I'm gonna obviously have to see how we get on. But I do want to do a full week this week, as I got a little bit more time off this week, so yeah, it'll be really good fun to do. So yeah, so everybody drop a like on the stream if you've enjoyed today's commentary. Really appreciate it. We've spoken about obviously gold, pound yen, also looked at GN today, so yeah, didn't really call out any trades or anything like that, but that's not the be all and end all. That is not that's not everything in trading. You know, a lot of trading is done in preparation, the same way a lot of training, you know, in sports and whatnot, is not really won in the game. It's won in the changing room. It's won in the training. You know, because you can't go ahead and win you know, a competition without putting in the work first. So yeah. Anyway, guys, appreciate everybody coming on. Like I said, drop a like on the stream. I'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 AM GMT. A little bit later today, but it was a bank holiday. We knew price wasn't doing much, so there was no rush to the charts today. But tomorrow there will be. We'll be on at 6:30 AM GMT for the rest of the week. So make sure you guys show up if you want to show up. But you're going to get some fire analysis and some good breakdowns and maybe some good trades. So we will see what happens. Right then, guys, appreciate it. Take care. Trade safe today. Remember, it's a bank holiday. So yeah, really make sure you're trading safe, because you do not want to be starting the week off in the wrong way by getting yourself in a loss, or definitely over trading on a bank holiday is a no-no. Okay, is a big no-no. Alright. Okay, guys, take care. See you all tomorrow morning, 6:30 sharp. And thanks very much. And remember to drop a like on the stream. Drop a like on the stream. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you all tomorrow morning. See you all tomorrow morning. Thank you guys. No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. See everyone tomorrow.